Draco, 2 clips in the hot tops.
What's good, everybody? What's good? It's your boy, Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E.S. Red, if that's what you want to call me. And we are back for another one. Alright, y'all. We have a new topic. How a win over Terence Crawford will amp boxing and Errol Spence Jr. to the next level. Alright, y'all, we getting close, man. We getting so close. It's so close I can feel it. Don't you feel it? You feel it in your veins? You can almost reach out and touch it. I visualize the fight actually happening. Terence Crawford is going down. He looks so sad on the mat. For real though, y'all, for real though. How will a win over Terence Crawford amp up the sport of boxing and Errol Spence Jr.'s boxing career? Well, basically, if you ask, depending on who you ask, some people feel like Terence Crawford is the best in boxing. Some people feel like he's the best welterweight out there. If you ask most of the celebrity boxers of the last generation who they're picking, if you ask 10, 7 out of 10 are going to say Terence Crawford. I don't know what they're basing that off of, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact he was undisputed at the lower weight classes. A lot of people say that he knocked out all his welterweight opponents, which he didn't. Anybody who keeps saying he knocked out Shawn Porter, realize that was not a knockout. They threw in the towel. That is a TKO. A KO and a TKO are two totally different things. That means that you could either no longer continue or that your camp threw in the towel. It doesn't mean that you were hit by a punch and it knocked you out. There's a difference between a throw in the towel, I couldn't continue, like your ankle, you might have rolled an ankle and couldn't continue. You might have broke a finger and couldn't continue. Your eye might be too swole, you couldn't continue. Your eye might be too cut, you couldn't continue. Those are all technical knockouts. That is not somebody getting knocked cold out and they can't continue because they're knocked cold out. So if you're saying he knocked out Shawn Porter, he did not knock out Shawn Porter, was completely alert and was willing to go. His coach threw in the towel. So he did not knock out all his welterweight opponents. Stop it with the fabrications. Now, on top of that, you know, people do believe that he is the best, not only fighter in boxing, but welterweight. I beg to differ. He might be the best overall skill for skill fighter in the sport of boxing. He is not the best in the welterweight division. But since so many people do feel that way, there's an opportunity for Errol Spence to build his resume even more. Even though he has the majority of the belts and all sane people would consider him the best welterweight out there, since there is that classification on Terence Crawford, if Errol Spence Jr. beats him, not only did he beat the best boxer, purest boxer, but he beat the best welterweight. So he would be killing two birds with one stone in one fight all at the same time. And that would completely solidify him as not only the best welterweight, but the best boxer, period. So not only will that amplify Errol Spence's resume up into past historic, it's past setting history, because many people already believe Terence Crawford is going to the Hall of Fame. Errol Spence would not only have beaten the Hall of Famer, but the best purest boxer and the best welterweight. So you're talking about Errol Spence's name being elevated so far into the upper echelon of boxing that it's going to be ridiculous. He will be recognized probably as the best of the past 10 years, and the next, the past 5 years and the next 5 years. So you put that all together, it'd be 10 years. Not only that, I think this fight has an opportunity to save the sport of boxing, to reinvigorate the sport of boxing, because it is on life support. It is slowly dying off. fans are leaving for MMA in droves. People just don't want to tune in and watch it. There's so many problems surrounding the sport and how they match make and make up fights, and A side, B side, and the things that Floyd Mayweather did to the sport. There's so much negativity surrounding the sport of boxing that a fight like this, especially if it turns out good. Now, Maypac, it reinvigorated boxing and then it killed boxing all at the same time, because the fight people were looking forward to actually happening in the ring never happened. You got sort of a stalemate, a weird fight with not a lot of action. Most of the action came from the Pacquiao side, even though Mayweather won somehow. Which is completely, laughable and funny all at the same time. But, what should have been and what was touted as the greatest fight in boxing history, Maypac sold the most pay-per-views, grossed the most of any other boxing match in the world, ended up as a horrible fight on both sides. Let's not just blame it on Mayweather. Pacquiao didn't give the best showing. He was injured, so I can't put too much blame on him. He did ask for an exemption for his shoulder. The same exemption Mayweather got in that fight, he asked for and got denied for it. So, people can say what they want about Manny Pacquiao. He went out like a warrior, and it would have been a totally different fight had he been allowed to have that exemption for his shoulder, because it would have numbed the shoulder and he would not have, it would have been no pain involved in him throwing those punches with his injured shoulder. So we could have gotten a better fight, but we didn't. So what it did is, instead of it reinvigorating the sport of boxing and taking it to a whole nother level, it kind of imploded the sport of boxing and pay-per-view sales. This is what killed boxing's pay-per-view, was the Maypac fight, because it was so expensive and such a horrible fight. People at that point started to realize, like, is this crap really worth paying for? You had the two biggest names in the sport, and you still didn't get a good fight out of it. You got a horrible fight. I guess the Mayweather fans were happy with it because they got the W. But the majority of boxing fans who look at boxing as a whole and not just from a one-sided I'm a fan standpoint could see that there was definitely something wrong with how that fight was put together, how it played out, and the price tag surrounding the fight. So what this fight could do, especially if they price it well, if it's a great fight on both sides, there might be a rematch out of it. It could definitely reinvigorate the fan bases. It can reinvigorate people wanting to purchase pay-per-views. It can bring a lot more money into the sport. And it could take that black eye of Maypac off of the sport. Like, if we get a good fight, I think people will forget about Maypac and the fact that it was such a horrible fight and the pay-per-view cost so much. If they price this thing around $50 to $60, and then you get a 12-round action thriller, Rocky type of fight, then you best believe that not only is the winner, but boxing fans will also win. Not only we get a winner and a definitive undisputed in the welterweight division, which we haven't had in a long time, but we will also, as boxing fans, get what we wanted for once, which is a good fight at a decent price and a 12-round action-packed war. And that's what people want. Even the Mike Tyson fights, there were people who complained about Mike Tyson fights back in the day, because the one complaint that was about Tyson fights is that they were too short. You got a bunch of action for like 60 seconds and then it was over with, and and you got your money taken, and you felt horrible after that. I'm tired of feeling horrible after I watch boxing fights, and I think there are a lot of other fans that are tired of feeling horrible after these fights. So I think, this fight could definitely solidify not only the sport, not only the winner, whether it's Crawford or Spence, but it could reinvigorate, revive, revitalize, and bring back the sport of boxing, the sport I love so much. Next to basketball, it's boxing, man. So hit that like button for me, share, subscribe. Tell a friend, holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, but you're more than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there if you want a response. It's your boy boy Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E.S. Red, if that's what you want to call me. And we are mad in.
Hey, 911 on fire and I can't get up, nigga.